Okay, here it is. Wait, don't go away yet. It's not supposed to be this way. This was just a prototype, but it turned out that it worked more effectively than I had planned. So I see little reason to make a second one. But let me show you how it works. It was designed with sawhorses in mind. The premise behind its design was simply remove everything that wasn't absolutely essential to its operation. That, and I was limited by whatever materials I had laying around here. But notice that there are two main beams, here and here, and then these smaller beams hold the saw in place. The smaller beams are 3 inches short, so they keep the entire thing from falling off of the sawhorse on one side. Now I just finished building this today, and I just came up with the design yesterday, so I really haven't worked out every little bug or thing that I would change, but so far so good. I do know that I would probably recommend that there be a hole drilled here so that on site you could drop regular construction spikes into the hole to keep it from sliding off the horse on this side. Now, again, I would like to emphasize that portability was paramount when I was designing this. I wanted it to be extremely lightweight. My other priority was that I wanted it to be easy to work on. I wanted everything accessible, because it's quite annoying to have this boxed in and not be able... It takes adjusting. There's always adjustment on some level when you're working with any type of power tool. And it's easy enough to move around, but simple enough to lock down so that it doesn't fly all over the place. Now, probably a major concern that somebody might have with a saw of this type is how difficult is it to adjust the depth, the height setting. And luckily for me, this saw is actually, the mechanism that adjusts the height is actually pretty easy to operate upside down, assuming that you use this rubber band gizmo here, which I'll give you a better look at it in a bit. I think that this design could accommodate a sled rather easily. Maybe the sled could hug both sides of this main top board, but it was really not my major concern while making this. The reason that I even did this was because I've been doing a lot of box joints, and rather than change the dado stack and a blade non-stop, it's easier just to have two table saws. I've always wanted one of these for a long time, and this was the simplest version that I could make in a day. This rubber band setup keeps the guard from interfering as the saw is raised or lowered. Now, of course, it would also be nice to be able to adjust the angle to make those types of cuts, but there's this point of diminished return. I didn't want to overly complicate the design of this. It was fundamentally designed to be simple. Now, I think that the fence is probably the crown jewel of this thing, but before I get to that, I want to show you how I solved the trigger problem, how we get to keep it on. Easy enough. That's just graphite on the end. More specifically, it's just pencil. Let me show you how I was able to determine this shape. So this is the shape of a piece of wood that would hold the trigger open. But of course you can't cram a piece of wood into that. So first you have to determine this shape, which the piece of wood would be as it goes in. And we know that it goes in this far. So my entire piece of wood is cut to this shape, but just the end of it is shaped like this. And then I just sanded it to the spot that I needed it to go into, if you understood all that. Okay, the fence. It's kind of a T-square design, and it's faced with high-density polyethylene. And this is the part that I almost gave up on, and I was really ready to throw in the towel, and it ended up to be wonderful. I'll show you how it works. Well, the principle in operation here, which I wasn't sure if it was going to work or not, is that if you squish a circle along one axis, it will increase in length along the other axis. The early prototype for this apparatus barely worked at all, but once I replaced it with this cove molding, it really made an improvement. I'm extremely satisfied with it. And that is not a bad looking cut at all. I hope you found this interesting.